brake shoes, brake pads, drums, rollers, brake fluid, brake clean, brake hardware, a flush, and a shop fee. I wish there was a place I could take my car to that didn't cost me an arm and a leg.
Well, now there is. Welcome to GA Automotive and Tire, where you can get a brake job for only $199 on most vehicles. That's a complete brake job with brake pads and rotors resurfaced. Located at 4431 Luxinger Lane, Austin, Texas, 78745. For service and prices so good that you'd recommend your family, simply call GA Automotive and Tire. Just dial 512-444-7005. That's 512-444-7005. GA Automotive and Tire. Hey, this is Rob T.
Hey, this Big Will.
The week is almost through.
And there's a lot we've thought through.
And we just want to share it with you. Some of it may be motivational.
Some inspirational.
But it will always be sensational. So sit back
And relax.
and check out What's on My Mind. Yo, what's going on?
Hey, what's happening, y'all?
How you doing, Will?
I'm doing all right, man.
Awesome. How you doing, honey?
I'm doing good.
We're all back. It's another week. It's another podcast.
Yeah, and we're all alive.
Yeah, we're all alive. We're going to get into that here in a second. This is Rob T.
It's Big Will.
And this is Melissa.
And you're listening to
What's on My Mind.
And today we've got a show for you. We have a very well-known guest come back on the show. She's going to have some input on this topic we're going to talk about today, and we're very excited to have her. And she's, I don't know, you are a guest, but it's like your home, man. This is, You've been on here so much. But ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome again to What's on My Mind podcast, Miss Michelle Haggerty. How you doing, Michelle?
I'm doing great. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
So glad to have you
I'll be
back.
good.
So I'm going to go ahead and say a disclaimer. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm not going to cuss. I'll be good.
We'll see.
All right, y'all get your notebooks out. Might make some tally marks.
Anyway, we are back. We are very happy and very thankful to be here today. For those of y'all that don't know, and you've been living under a rock if you don't know, but Texas was under a huge freeze last week, and we are here in Texas. We're actually recording from Seguin, Texas, which is where Melissa and I live, and decided to come on here today, and we're going to kind of talk about last week and our experiences and experiences of our friends and family, just stuff that we know. Just to give y'all some insight about what we went through. Like I said, Melissa and I live here in Seguin, Texas, which is it's kind of close to San Antonio, about 45 minutes away from San Antonio. And Michelle lives in San Marcos, Texas, which is about 45 minutes or so away from Austin. It's in between Austin and San Antonio, Texas. And then Will actually comes down all the way from Houston, Texas, which is the big H-town, largest city in the state of Texas, and beautiful city. Somewhat. No, I'm just kidding.
It's debatable.
Wow.
It's debatable.
You know what? So before we really get into each of our insights, can we just kind of, bless you, can we kind of explain why this freeze was such a big deal for Texas? Because, I mean, compared to, our northern, states or whatever, it wasn't really a lot of snow, but we got about, maybe 6 inches tops where we're at.
Which is a lot.
Yeah,
Well, for us.
For Texas.
Us. Yeah, so why is that significant?
Well, I think that's a very good place to start, because let's be real. If you haven't been on social media, we here in Texas have been getting a lot of, I don't want to call it hate, but y'all been hating on us.
I've seen half
Y'all
and half.
as in Northerners.
Yeah, y'all as in Northerners. Y'all are giving us a hard time, saying we can't handle the cold and everything. But you bring up a very good point. We want to tell you why. We're not used to that crap. Okay? Bottom line, I mean, let's be real. We're not used to it. I have a friend of mine that I work with. He's from New York. Okay? He happened to actually come back from New York in the middle of the whole freeze. He got here Wednesday. He had gone back to New York for a visit. And he said his first inclination at first was, why are they shutting down the state for just a few inches of snow? Because he's from New York, right? And then he said himself, as he started thinking about it, he realized Texas does not have that all the time, right? He told me over in New York, they get warnings about storms like what we had last week, And 48 hours before, there are trucks going all over the city spreading salt.
Exactly.
Spreading all kinds of stuff so that the roads don't freeze over. And then when the snow actually does fall, they got snow plows like crazy. We don't have that here in Texas because we don't deal with the snow like that.
I have never seen snow tires and do not know what they are.
Exactly.
I second that notion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead and make your jokes and everything else about how we handled it or whatever. But the bottom line is that this is not something that we get every single day.
Well,
It's
every
unheard
winter.
of
Well,
down
can we
here.
also just mention the fact that Texans really don't even own coats? We
Right.
really don't
Yeah.
even
Right.
own thick coats and jackets unless it's, hunters that have all of their camo gear or people that, go to Colorado or whatever, but we don't even own any of things to keep us warm, and our homes are built to keep us cool.
Exactly.
So we've got big windows to bring the sunshine in and things like that. So our homes are built to keep us colder because it's so hot.
Right. And
So-
see, that's what I was.
Right.
Remember, you and I were talking about that. I was like, I didn't even realize that. Being from Texas, I've gone out of the state only a couple of times. We were up north once, and it wasn't even during the winter, right? So I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know that our houses were built for that purpose.
Yes.
I just thought it was just,
Our whole infrastructure isn't built for that.
Right.
I mean, it's just, going back to the coats thing, somebody gets a big coat, like, when are you going to wear that?
Exactly.
I mean, it's
Halloween.
just, yeah, exactly. I mean, I have seen this kind of snow one other time in my life here in Texas. And
I don't
that
even
was
think
like
I've ever
10, 15
seen,
years ago.
I don't think I've ever seen this kind of stuff. I've seen snow,
Yeah.
but it's never been it's normally, it's snowing, yay, and the next day it's like, oh, it's
Right.
70
Yeah.
degrees.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, if it sticks at all. Usually it's a little dusting, and by the time it hits
Right.
the ground, it melts.
So there was another time in Texas when it did snow. Like it actually snowed more.
Tell us about it, old man.
Yes, please, old wise man, tell us when.
Please tell us a
It
story.
was back in 1985, and actually did snow a little bit more. I think the most we had here was 7 inches, and I think back then it was like about 9, if I remember correctly. I remember driving to church in the snow. My dad's driving, and he's on the highway, and you would literally see like big old blocks of snow come up from the street and hit the car because it was just that thick. That snow was different though, because I remember when you would step on it, it would like you would hear like a crushing sound. This snow was not like that. This snow was very powdery. This snow was it was like sand, but it was snow. It was weird. I've never experienced snow like that ever.
We in Houston didn't see none of that.
So
well,
okay,
I mean, some of it's also just memories of when you're younger, but also,
Right.
the snow hadn't settled or
right,
anything
right.
like that.
Now
I mean,
I know
I
I
grew
do
up
know.
in Massachusetts, and I remember I didn't grow up there, but I remember when I was little,
Mm.
we've got all the snowsuits and everything like that and playing outside, but,
Snowsuits?
Yeah.
What's a snowsuit?
You've never seen a Christmas
I mean,
house?
really? See, okay, the fact that you're asking that question explains that Texans are not prepared for this.
true.
I mean, but
Is it like a ski outfit?
yeah, I guess basically. I mean, maybe
I
it's
don't
not.
know.
Maybe it's not called a snowsuit.
Is it like what that kid wore in A Christmas Story?
Yeah.
Ralphie? Yes, exactly. That's how
Okay,
I felt.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, but we had everything to go skiing and things like that. But my kids, when they went out to play in the snow, I was like, okay, guys, we're gonna get plastic bags and put socks over your hands, and that's how their hands weren't freezing
Right.
this time. So they can play in the snow.
Because you didn't have mittens.
Yeah, we don't even have
Yeah,
gloves.
yeah,
We
exactly.
don't own gloves.
She has gloves.
Oh, you do? Oh,
Yeah,
look at
she had
you.
gloves.
Oh, fancy.
It's just, but she gets them because they look
I
good.
wore so many pants.
Did you?
I wore all of my clothes. My entire closet.
Well, let's talk about that because your house got really cold, didn't it?
So my house is always cold.
Right.
So just so y'all know, you can go back and listen to my podcast about the flood.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my house, even with the electricity, probably didn't get above 58 degrees normally.
Wow.
And with as low as it got, it was about 40 degrees. And we literally put blankets up in the windows, and we blocked off doorways so that the living room could be warmer and had space heaters. And it maybe got to about 47, 48 degrees. So luckily I had electricity, but at a certain point, my friend, she's like, get your butt over here.
Right.
And like I was telling you, I had strep throat, and I was like,
Right.
I'm not gonna come over anywhere. I don't want to get sick. So once antibiotics were in my system for a little while, I went over to her house, and with my daughter Caitlin, and we hung out over there because she had electricity on and off for the most part, and she had a fireplace. But my house, even with electricity, it was freezing. Unlike a lot of my other friends that had no electricity, so their house was extremely cold. But my house is always cold.
Right.
So unfortunately, I'm kind of used to it, but I'm not, because I'm also Filipino, so I'm a Filipino popsicle. I was like, I can't handle this. I'm not okay.
Well, let's talk about you talked about the fact that it was 40 something degrees in your house, right?
Right.
So as we all know, water freezes at 32 degrees, right?
Right.
So Melissa's dad, who lives in Victoria, Texas, which is a little bit outside of Houston, right?
About 2 hours.
Yeah, his house, okay, where he lives, right? I talked to him yesterday on the phone, and I asked him how things were going and how everything was for him during the freeze. He told me that he woke up in the middle of the night and his water bottle that he had on his nightstand was frozen.
Yeah.
When he went to get a drink of water, it was frozen, and he had a pack of water on his counter in the kitchen that was already starting to freeze.
Yeah.
And so did he have electricity?
No, his
No,
electricity
his
had gone out.
electricity had gone out.
I mean, his
Yeah.
house is drafty to begin with, and then the electricity goes out, and he's stubborn. So it took him a couple
Understand
of days.
that.
Yeah. Thank God he finally went to stay with a friend, you
Yeah.
know, in the heat. You know, he left his doggy with somebody so that he could have heat as well. But he still doesn't have water.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah,
still.
still
And
does
it's been, and just so you guys know that are listening,
Yeah.
it is 70 degrees.
Today it was almost 80.
Yeah.
actually.
Almost
Yes.
80, and yesterday it was 70 degrees,
Right.
and people still don't have water. So I think that that's one of the things that I wish that Northerners would really understand. Like, oh, we're used to this. Like, you guys are used to this weather, but you also have electricity.
Mm-hmm.
You also have heat. A lot of people, like, their heat isn't necessarily gas based, it's like oil based.
Right.
I don't know.
I didn't know that
so
was a
you
thing.
guys can correct me on that.
Yeah.
But they have electricity. So the difference is not only did Texas freeze over, we didn't have electricity to keep us warm. So we couldn't have electric blankets. Couldn't have our heaters on. We didn't have those things. So people were literally sitting in their cars warming up.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, because we're not used to it. So many people did not know how to handle it.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, that's
unfortunately, there was people who passed away because of that. There was a family, I think down in Victoria, where I'm from. I mean, I've heard of a couple of families who
There were
went to their
several.
car to warm up and wound up dying of carbon monoxide, or they
Yes.
brought in improper heating elements into the house, and then sure enough died.
You know those
of-
Mexicans that turn on the oven in the middle of the night?
Yep.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you're taught that that's something that you do, but you can't do that. I
Not
mean, you
with
can't
the
leave
closed
it.
windows,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
yeah.
So again, I mean, people are just like, oh, well, that's common sense. Like,
Yeah.
well, when you're
It's-
desperate, when you have no idea how to deal with it, you're going to do whatever you can.
Yeah.
And
One of
there,
our-
there unfortunately were some elderly as well, and some kid. I saw that
Yes,
little boy
11 years old.
who died just from exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's exposure, and then also,
have I been?
families huddled together in one
Houston.
room to keep it as warm as possible, but they didn't have, windows cracked or whatever, and there's carbon monoxide poisoning just from everybody being inside together, or people bringing in charcoal grills, which, I mean,
Right.
yes, we say it's common sense, but in crisis situations,
You're just trying to think about getting heat.
you just want to keep your children warm.
Right.
So
Yeah.
for those
Right.
with kids, I mean, that's where it really hurts my heart so much. So I didn't have my children the whole time. I have 5 kids, but my littlest ones, they stayed with Daniel in his apartment because he had electricity, and he had water because he was on a power grid with an EMT station in the hospital. So those places weren't right. Exactly. But I wasn't there, and I didn't want to bring the kids with me into my house and make them suffer just because I wanted to be with them.
Right.
But I can't imagine. So one of my best friends, Madison, lives in Austin. She didn't have power the entire time. They had a tent.
God.
They literally had a tent in their living room.
wow.
And, but it's one of those things as a parent, you think, okay, as long as the kids don't know that something's wrong, everything's okay. So the kids are having fun. They're like, oh, there's a tent in the house and the dogs are in the house.
Right.
But, she posted pictures and her son's in bed with her. and everybody's just dressed in everything, and the kids, I love. Luckily, like the kids, they don't know that something's wrong.
Right.
But it's so stressful as a parent because your biggest concern is like, I'm not worried about me. I'm not worried about eating. I just want to make sure my children have food. And that's the other thing that people don't understand is that we didn't have food because HEB, which is, HEB.
Our local grocery store.
Which a lot of you guys don't even know about. So grocery stores shut down because the electricity went out. Food spoiled, and they couldn't sell it, and people couldn't buy it. Even if people did want to brave the roads and get in the snow and drive, because we don't even know how to drive in this weather.
Right.
You get to the grocery store, and there's really not. There's things that have just you can't have food. So, I mean, oh my God, you guys have. I'll have to tell you a story later about a waiting in Whataburger line for 5 hours. And there may or may not have been a fight, and there may or may not be video, but I'll tell you about that later.
But I mean, 5 hours, people still waited. I mean, that's how bad. And because, even if the food that didn't spoil, like even when you were able to go to HEB, once the power came back on and people were able to get out, the food went so fast because there were so many people who went without. So meat went, dairy went, bread. You couldn't find any of that. I mean, they're just barely starting to get restocked now, but you couldn't find anything.
It's still pretty barren.
And there's no water, so you have people buying 6 cases of water and everything else.
Yeah,
I know.
Except, thankfully for HEB, they started doing those
limited.
Yeah, the limited.
Hey, can we just for a minute talk about HEB? Okay.
About how amazing they are?
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you right now, you Northerners, man, you think you got a grocery store? Our grocery store, they come out in times of crisis. We don't need FEMA here in Texas. We got HEB.
We need FEMA. We need FEMA.
I think FEMA needs to give money to HEB.
Yeah.
I remember whenever, what was it, Hurricane Harvey, where I'm from Victoria, and Victoria got hit very badly. Homes got destroyed. People were without water, without electricity for some couple weeks.
Yeah.
And the first ones out on the ground were HEB. They gave them meals. They gave them, places to do their laundry. They gave them, essentials. And didn't they do something like that this time as well? They were trying to work to get all the stores restocked. They got water.
The big story that sticks out to me this go around, I don't know where in Texas it happened.
Is it the one that I sent you that I told you about?
Yes, that one. So what ended up happening, I don't know if you heard about this, Will, but basically everybody's in HEB doing their shopping, grabbing what they need. The lights go out. Like electricity is out.
Gone.
HEB told everyone, take what you have and go home.
And they
let them take their supplies and go home.
That gives me goosebumps.
They didn't have to worry about paying for it. That is our HEB.
That is HEB. Yes.
That is why we love HEB here in Texas.
Yeah.
Man, we should ask them for a sponsorship.
I know, right?
Well, but I mean, they really. Another thing that maybe I want to point out, just specifically in the San Marcos area and the areas that have flooded, there's a lot of PTSD. So especially for me, because I freeze and I kind of freak out, and I'm, after the flood, there are things that I know to prepare for. So if it's going to be raining a lot, I know what I'm going to do now, like get the kids upstairs or put things upstairs. I have water, I have this, I have that. But those are not the same emergency supplies for a situation like this.
Right.
And so there's a lot of PTSD for everybody in San Marcos that had the flood. So when something like this happens, people are running to the store and they are trying to get whatever they can because they just don't know when they're going to. Because when one of the, two of the floods, but the first one especially, there was no electricity and people were trying to clean out homes and they didn't have electricity and things were, there was all kinds of bacterial infections and things like that because it was so hot. And people are they're still hurting from all of that, even though it was in 2015.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, and I catch myself that I didn't go to HEB because I know I'll go there and I literally will just stare at the shelves and be like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah. And it's happened before. I'll have anxiety attacks when I'm in there. And so it's a whole different situation. But one thing that HEB did that was great is that, they stayed open. The people there are amazing. They kind of try to guide people through everything on like what you need to get. I mean, they're just, and also just, there is PTSD from there, but there also is, we call it like San Marcos strong.
Yeah.
Is that people in San Marcos even though the meat was back on the shelves the other day, when I went to go get groceries, I got one of the things that I needed instead of get all of it.
Right.
So there is this less greed, if that makes sense, than you would expect from people in a crisis situation. It's very giving. So that is something that is
community.
amazing. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something that's amazing about San Marcos and about Texas in general. So take
sure.
that, Northerners.
Yeah.
So-
The
I
one
mean,
thing-
that's
I'm just
something that
kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't hate me. Don't hate me.
I mean, you know, again, like kidding with the Northerners, I have seen support as well, you know, or I have seen people up north put up posts like, hey, you know, Texans, this is what you want to do. You know, my dad was actually one of the, because my dad's from Ohio, you know, so he was just like, you know, if that happens, you know, just put on all your clothes, get under a bunch of blankets, you know, your body heat, you know, like, you know, he was a good resource for that, you know, so there are some people that understand, you know, but yeah, it's a really hard thing to explain, you know, when, you know, you're not.
Right.
Yeah, you're not seeing it from that perspective. Either you get it or you don't.
And we got to look out a little bit with the whole grocery thing because here in Seguin, we're a smaller town than San Marcos and stuff. So I didn't go to HEB. I didn't venture HEB. When I did have to go out, we have a smaller grocery store called Arlen's that we went to. And then
Shout out to Arlen's.
Yeah,
sponsor.
shout out to Arlen's. And then we went up the road to a local meat market here, and that's where I ended up getting some meat. And there wasn't a lot of people there. Granted, they still had some stuff that wasn't on the shelves. There wasn't any milk. There wasn't any eggs. There wasn't any bread. But plenty of meat. They had, you know, all that stuff. So we lucked out as far as that goes. But Will, how are things in Houston? Because Houston is 3 hours away, and it's 3 hours south of where we are here. And you said this earlier before we went on the air that we were actually colder up here than y'all were down there. So how were things in Houston last week?
It's kind of funny because I still went to work. You know.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I work from home though. So,
Wah, wah.
No, but I just really realized something is where I stay at. There is I have like 3 hospitals right around the corner from me.
Oh, so you were on that
So,
grid.
I was on that grid.
You were on the. I wasn't on the grid. You both of y'all were on the grid. All of you were on the grid. I wasn't on the grid.
So I was on the grid, so I didn't lose any power. I didn't lose any electricity. I didn't lose any water, anything.
Right.
But the crazy thing is, though, the school down the street shut down. I mean, my kids had a whole week off, like a week and 3 days, like a whole week and a half. Like,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I would die for that.
Our kids are home. Send help.
But it's interesting because, you know, like there's people who went without water. I heard stories. Actually, I heard a story on Sunday that there was a lady in San Antonio, North Side San Antonio, who went 8 days, I think it was,
Yeah.
with no water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I think no power too, right? Yeah, they no water. They were actually boiling snow.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people were doing.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
I have coworkers that were in the same boat. One of my coworkers, I think, had no electricity the entire time. Like the electricity went out.
You know, you
I
can
think that-
boil snow with a candle, just so you know. That's just something that people have learned, that you can boil water with a candle,
Right.
just so you know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I got pictures.
So she didn't have. It was cold in their house. They had no power. They had no water, and she lived with her daughter's family. So it's like there was a group of them.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you were saying earlier, and all these stories I've heard, they've all said the same thing. The kids are having fun, and they're trying to keep the kids.
Yeah.
To keep thinking like this is fun. It's like we're camping out kind of thing.
Right.
But the parents were worried.
It's
worried.
It's anxiety overload, and then that's the reason why I wanted the kids to be with Daniel, because they would have fun, and and I was really upset. So I was upset that I was like, oh, before in the very beginning, so it was Friday, the snow was coming in, like the cold was coming in, and I was driving to the doctor because my throat was sore, and I was like, I have strep. I'm not okay right now. And so Daniel had the boys, and I was upset because I wasn't going to see them the next day. And I was like, I'm going to miss the second snow day and blah, blah, blah. Woe is me. Wah, wah, wah. Right. But then the next morning, the snow was there and it was beautiful. And the boys got to play with Daniel, and I FaceTimed him. And then Caitlin came down. Caitlin is 19, by the way.
My goodness.
Basically came downstairs wearing pretty much everything she owns as well. We both have matching maroon Doc Martens. And she's like, hey, do you want to go play in the snow? And I was like, I want to go build a snowman. And so we went and so even amongst, right, yeah, you're right, follow my TikTok. So we walked around. It was like, hey, let's go walk over to so-and-so's house. There's a neighbor behind us. It's like, let's go throw a snowball at her. So we like knocked on her door and we threw a snowball at her. And she came out. She's like, I'm so excited. So we enjoyed it. And then we walked down to the river because it's across the street from my house. And you can see the steam. The San Marcos River is 72 degrees year round.
Yeah.
So you can see the steam coming up. And so there was a lot of beauty in this as well. So even though there was all of this traumatic stuff, there still was a lot of beauty to it. So I do have a lot of very positive memories. My best friend, Kim, she said, get your butt over here. Like once my antibiotics kicked in and I didn't think I was contagious anymore. She's like, get over here. Your house is cold.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm fine. She's like, you're not fine. Get over here. So I went over there. And we hung out, and then Daniel brought the boys to us, and we kind of camped out, quote unquote, and we got to roast marshmallows. And I had them for a day, but then I sent them back because our power was going in and out over the rest of the time. And but I was still very grateful, you know, because when it gets cold, I'm like, I'm a wuss, you know, just in general, I'm a wuss. But I remember seeing my friends, you know, my friend, like I told you, the entire time. You know, and just know my mom, she lives in Belton, which is further north.
Right.
She didn't have, you know, heat in her house and they had a fireplace. And she's like, she actually had just bought a new house that they're renovating and there's no furniture in it. So she said, so they brought a mattress, some chairs. Here's my Asian heritage. She's like, we have a wok. So I was like, that's my mom. You know, we got firewood and a wok. And so, you know, and she's like, and we've got some toilet paper, you know, and so they kind of took the bare necessities. But everybody in Canyon Lake, I had friends in Canyon Lake, no water the entire time. And, you know, they're just taking snow in and melting it, just kind of stuffing it down so it would melt and use that to flush their toilets, you know. But, you know the rule. Like, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, crush it. Okay. Right. Okay. So, you know. Anyway. You know, I didn't cuss in there.
No, you didn't. I was very impressed by that, actually.
Okay. But, like, there's no tally marks for me being tacky, right? Okay.
No, you're good.
But I would like to say, like, there is some beauty and some fun and excitement in a lot of it.
For sure.
But there really is just, we're all still seeing, you know, what's happening and what has happened over time and just the repercussions of it all.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's almost 80 degrees now.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. So let's talk about Northerners for a second.
You mean the ones that are going to be crying in the summer?
They're like, heat stroke, 90 degrees. And we're over here like, dude, I'm not putting shorts on until it's at least 100, you know?
Exactly.
And it's like...
Wait. Most Texans don't even own a pair of shoes. We got flip-flops.
Flip-flops,
Texans
are
wear sweaters and shorts and flip-flops.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, no, I wear flip-flops in the rain. I don't own rain boots. It's like, it's raining and we put my flip-flops on.
No, check that. This is Texas right here.
Okay.
So our cousin lives with us, right? And when the snow had fallen and everything else, she went outside, had on a big jacket, big thick jacket, right? She goes outside to make a snow angel. She's wearing shorts and flip-flops.
Which I don't get.
I don't recommend.
And she went out there and made the snow angel.
I was like, okay, that first day was cold by anybody's standards. Like,
she could do that because she knew she was coming home into the warmth.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's true.
else was
That's
like,
true.
I'm not going out there.
I mean, she's young, you know.
Well, so let's talk about that real quick. We were very fortunate. We were very blessed that we didn't lose power. We didn't lose water. And it turns out we found out that right up the road over here, there's the... what'd you call it?
The utility control center.
Utility control center for the town, and we share the grid with them. So we
Thank
lost
God.
nothing.
Lucky people on the grid. We're gonna have to talk about the grid.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's like the new 1%. You know, like the people on the grid.
So again, the whole Texas thing, right? So my wife's a witness. We had the heater set at 68 because, you know, just in case the power went out,
the recommendation.
It was recommended to keep it there because you're trying to conserve energy and all that stuff.
For those of you that had it.
So So we
That's
had.
what they told us here
Thanks,
at
Will.
Seguin. Like,
Thanks, Will.
it's Will's fault.
Mine was like at 76.
I was like, I had mine at 76.
See,
I
that's
had all
it.
the heaters
It's-
on. I had an electric blanket.
Texas, it's Will's fault.
Yeah, there
Thanks,
you go.
Will.
So we had our heater set at 68, right? It would still go off because it would get that cold, of course. But there I am in bed. I got the fan on.
I know. Like,
Shut up.
yeah, because they were talking about conserving
Get
energy.
outside,
Yeah.
Rob.
And I was just like, okay, we don't need the fan. Like, I get it.
Open the window.
Like, he's so used to the sound, like he can't sleep in silence. But he was
You
just
can
like, oh,
sleep
hon.
outside.
He was just like, oh, hon, can you turn on the fan? I was like, really? For real?
Yeah.
Turn on a knuckle sandwich.
So yes, I slept with the fan on.
Yes,
But we had a heater. We have a heater up in our loft. It's a fireplace heater, and man, let me tell you that it gets toasty.
Yeah,
with that
it's
thing.
crazy. Well, even without that heater, I
Yeah.
guess because of the way our house is,
Heat rises.
yeah, the heat rises. So, here on the the first floor, it was cold, and then you go upstairs and it's toasty.
Yeah.
It's a very noticeable difference.
We spend most of
So
our time
yeah, we were
upstairs
upstairs the whole time.
Yeah.
We would not come
I'm
downstairs.
I'm like over here listening, and it's like I can hear the listeners cringing right now that are like, oh my gosh.
I heard it as soon as I said it. Like,
Hashtag, first world problems
Yeah.
that I need my fan. And then there's people over here. I'm
the
over
upstairs
shaking
was
my head.
warm. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Hey, it couldn't be as bad as me saying I have my heater at 75,
Yeah.
76.
Yeah,
I think at
know
one
what?
I'm
point-
shaking my head at you too. I'm shaking my finger at you right now.
You know what? We got
That's
our
nice. That's
we
nice.
we have our privileges. We have all got our own. I recognize that absolutely.
We were sipping mimosas, by the way.
Surprisingly, I didn't have a sip of alcohol that entire time.
Really?
Oh, girl.
Well,
Why?
I was on antibiotics and I was
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
stick to my diet.
What was it like the second day? Like when the snow melted for like an hour or so,
We
we went to the
drank.
liquor store.
I am surprised I was not drunk the entire time. I should have been, but
So-
Oh,
As
sorry.
soon as-
Was I not supposed to?
No,
is
you're
that
good.
okay to say? I don't know.
As
Yeah.
soon as we were able to drive, we took a family trip to the liquor store.
We had to take a family field trip. Like, okay, the ice is melted, right? Like we can go, and then like let's
just
go before
really-
it freezes again.
I'm just really glad that I'm here right now to speak on behalf of the cold people.
Oh my god.
Thanks.
Well, I did say we were going to share all different perspectives of what happened.
Yeah, and I am fortunate that I don't have the perspective of those that were without electricity.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
like I was
Yeah.
saying, like my house, even with electricity, it was on and off. It's still cold, so that's why I had to leave.
You know what was really hard for me, and I'm being straight up honest, all joking aside, what hurt me the most is knowing I had this and I wanted to help everybody.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like-
and I believe you 100% because
Yeah.
I know how giving you guys are.
I did in a way feel bad,
like
it's just-
guilty.
Like I
almost.
know how
Yeah.
blessed we are,
As
and
she
you
was
know.
drinking or no, I was kidding.
Drinking my
No, I
old
mean, because
fashioned.
I recognize how blessed we are that we just happen to live in a certain area, that we just happen to be down the store from the utility control center, and then knowing that people were going without,
Yeah.
just.
Yeah, I mean, I did get on somebody that made a post on Facebook like, "Oh, don't even Rob, shut your mouth, shut your mouth." But he posted, what are we going to complain about next week? And I was
Okay.
livid. And I was like, the people that make these comments are the ones that had electricity and water the entire time.
Okay, like that's no bueno. Like, come
Right.
on, yeah.
Dude, I was ready to punch somebody in it. Whatever.
Like,
okay,
I at least
so,
recognize that we're blessed.
Rob's over
Yeah.
there like trying to. He's like.
No, he knows. He's trying to act like he doesn't, but he does.
And I called him out, and I was mad. He's like, "Oh, I'm just poking fun." I was like, shut up. I mean, because he wasn't the only person.
wasn't you, was it?
No,
Because,
it was not me.
No, it was. Hagrid.
Yeah, don't worry.
Oh, they went the bus.
There's that bus. But like, I had another friend that made some kind of comment. He was like, "Oh, I'm from Pennsylvania," and I was like, "Okay, shut up about your Pennsylvania stuff."
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
You almost did. You almost
I
did.
almost cussed.
You know what? We didn't have this snowstorm when Trump was president.
My God.
You know what? That's it. You know what? Hey, everybody, Michelle Haggerty, thank you for having me. I'm going to go. Have a nice night. Bye.
And that's one thing. I will say this. That's one thing that's been frustrating about this whole ordeal is people politicizing it, not just
Yeah.
people in general,
Are you
but like,
serious?
Oh, yeah.
are you serious? Have you not?
Yes.
Yes.
You haven't seen it?
Everything. It's been a
I've been
political.
off social media for like the last 2 weeks.
Bro.
You know what? That's
Honestly.
smart. That is smart because it's like starting to make me mad again.
Agitation.
Dang it, that's supposed to be Michelle. Okay, I didn't say it. I didn't say it. No, because everything's like, oh, it's all Biden's fault, or oh, it's all Abbott's fault, or oh, it's all green energy. Oh, it's
Ted Cruz
Yes.
went to
But
Mexico.
we can blame Cruz.
Yeah.
Let's blame
Okay.
Cruz.
Yes. Yeah. Except and he did nothing wrong. Crappy PR move, yeah, but I mean that's neither here.
Yeah, he
Everything
didn't-
is finger pointing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
everything.
for sure.
And on top of that too, like for me, I want to know what happened. I want to know, okay, what caused this, and how can we keep that from happening again? And everything, all the information is just like.
Let's talk about ERCOT for a second.
Oh my god! And that's the thing. I feel, just for what I know, I feel like ERCOT's to blame. But then all these people, oh no, it's this. Oh no, it's that. Articles. I'm just like, I don't know who to trust.
Speaking
like
of
you
ERCOT,
can't trust anything.
Check this out. Speaking of ERCOT, we noticed, like, right when this stuff was happening, when it was all coming down, we did the research. Remember, and we found out none of the board members were even
They don't
in
live
Texas.
in Texas. They're not from
Oh,
Texas.
yes.
They resigned today.
Did they? I didn't know that.
Oh.
They resigned today.
They got death threats apparently,
and
but that's the whole.
the
not sure.
reason that they're saying the reason they resigned was because they
They're not
got
Texan,
so
they're
much
not cool
flack
enough.
that they're not from Texas.
But
Well, I mean, that's the problem. If you're not living in the situation, you don't understand how dire it is.
Exactly.
It's like people like, oh, well, the floods are happening. Well, whatever, we'll send some water. It's like, well, we had plenty. Thank you. And it's kind of like that. I'm not saying that you can't be compassionate,
Right,
because
right.
it is true that you can be compassionate and you can understand what people are going through, even though you're not going through
Yeah,
those
for sure.
situations.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Right.
And me, I'm not a political person, and you know that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense. And Will brought this up earlier that we do actually have rolling blackouts in the summertime often.
Yeah.
But we're used to, and this is the thing.
I've never had a rolling blackout.
I am used
They're
to
actual rolling
Yeah, and it
blackouts,
happens
though.
all the time. And I'm very used to it. We're like, hey guys, we're having rolling blackouts. I get bust out the Kim lights and the candles, open up the windows. It's hot. You worry about
Yeah.
your babies sweating and you worry about heat stroke and stuff like that. But we are used to that. You've
Right.
got your mosquito spray, you've got all the things. We're used to rolling blackouts in the summertime, and we
Yes.
know how to prepare for that.
Yeah.
This is very different.
Yeah.
Wait.
But the fact of the matter is, it's like, why did it happen? How did it happen? What were the justifications for the certain places that closed down, and why? And Madison, I love you, girl. I hope you're listening to this. Why were some of the people like, why did they go so long without it?
Right.
And why were they overlooked? Everybody's power is turning back on, and she lives in Austin, and there's a specific area that was almost neglected. Everybody's like, oh, I finally can take a shower. Like, good, go wash your face.
Booty.
And like, go wash your stuff, and Madison's over here like, I need to, take care of my children. And she's like, you guys make a post, say something, and eventually, and I remember I was like, it's almost over, and then her power turned on, but it doesn't make sense. You're
Yeah.
like, oh,
No, you're right.
everybody make sure that your thermostat is at 68. Stop plugging in everything so the rest of us can have power. And that's BS.
Yeah.
It is BS to say that it's up to the rest of the citizens of Texas for us to turn our power down for other people to have their power on.
Right.
I mean, that sounds like a very privileged thing to say. But the fact of the matter is, why wasn't it prepared in the first
No,
place?
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, and because there were some people that I knew who had true rolling blackouts. Their power went off for however long they said per hour. That sucks, but it is what it is. But then you had the other people who got like 10 minutes of power and then like hours of no power, and then
She
people
had
who
nothing
had nothing.
she had nothing the
So
entire
why?
time.
How
the
did that
entire
happen?
time.
Nothing
no
at
water,
all.
No water, no electricity
insane.
the entire time.
And they try to
That's
do that
insane.
whole thing
City
like,
bosses
oh,
step
well,
up.
I mean, there were places in the Austin that did have it, but for some reason, it was like something ranch. Oh man.
I know that's that.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, there's lots of something ranches in in Texas, but it's just for some reason they were overlooked. I mean, maybe they weren't overlooked, but it just doesn't make sense why somebody was out of all of it. Also, mind you, those that are listening, a lot of people don't have water because pipes were bursting, and I know what you're thinking. You didn't wrap your pipes. You didn't do this. I dripped my pipes. Half of my house was frozen, so I was terrified. I was terrified that, even once it was warmer, some of my water wasn't working, and I dripped the entire time.
Well, I know in Houston we had main water lines break.
Exactly.
Because you can't drip a main water line.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But even so, people who took the precautions, and I think that goes back to, the infrastructure. I mean, we're just not built for this.
We're not built for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're
exactly.
not built for that.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick little break, and we're going to come back and dive into this a little bit more. So we'll be back right after these messages.
We haven't dived in a lot. All right.
Whoa. Oh, no way. Hey, Will.
Yo, what's
Get
up?
over here. Look at this.
What am I looking at?
I'm in Facebook right now. Look at these numbers.
Dude, what did you do?
Dude, look at these numbers now in Instagram.
What? How?
Yeah. They've gone up in just a couple of weeks
How?
by listening to Enid Jones. That's right. So if you are wanting to start a business in 2020 and you wanted to grow on social media, then you know where you need to start? You need to contact Enid Jones, the Social Mermaid. She's a photographer and social media strategist. She will help give you a strategy to move forward in 2020 with a practical, realistic approach or growth. For testimonials, reviews, and more, you need to go find her on Facebook or Instagram. We listened to her, and in just a couple of weeks, man, our numbers are up. So if you go to Instagram, you can find her by pix.by.enid. That's pix.by.enid. And if you go on Facebook, just search Enid Jones Photography. She's not that hard to find. Go and search her today. Starting a business can be very challenging. Man, starting anything can be challenging, even a podcast. When we started our podcast, we had a lot of hurdles we had to go through. But I tell you what, Will and I are so thankful to have an awesome team of people helping us along the way. And one of those people, well, actually one of part of the team, is Blue Orchid Design Company. They helped us out with an awesome logo, and you guys have seen it every week when you listen to our podcast. They do web design, graphic design, esports logos, business logo creation, product mock-ups, and business consultation. You got to contact them today. For more information, go to goorchid.com. You can also find them on Facebook at facebook.com/Blue Orchid Design Company. This is the team that Big Will and Rob D trust. Give them a call today. Are you looking for your own custom shirt design? Maybe you have an idea for an awesome cap that no one else has, and maybe you think you just don't have enough money to get it to happen? Well, look no further. Call CJ Design. That's right, we're talking custom shirts, caps, stickers, and decals. High quality at the low price guarantee. Maybe you have a youth group, church function, family reunions, work events. Doesn't matter. Call CJ Design for your own specific high-quality design merchandise. Call or text at 737-202-8331. That's 737-202-8331. CJ Design, and make sure you ask for Juan. And we are back. And before we continue, just want to briefly say that this next segment is brought to you by our friends at Silver Spoon Dinner Theater. They are located at 6700 North Interstate 35 in Rockville, Texas, 78130. Basically upstairs over at the Texas Ski Ranch. You can't miss it. For more information, go to silverspoon.com, SYLVER spoon.com. You can also give them a call at 210-865-3711. That's Silver Spoon Dinner Theater. Great place to go for gourmet food and for great entertainment, all right? When you go, make sure you tell them that your boys and girl here at What's On My Mind podcast sent you, and they will hook you up. Silver Spoon Dinner Theater. And we have been talking about the great snowpocalypse of Texas that took place last week. And when we left off, we were starting to talk a little bit about this whole ERCOT thing. And for those of y'all that don't know, they're the ones that... that's basically the grid that we have here in Texas, and we were
They're
talking.
the ones in control of
They
our
control our grid, and we were talking about this a little bit during the break, it's independent from the country, right?
Correct, because Texas is Texas.
Exactly. And the crazy thing about it is we were laughing about it, but there's so much, like Melissa was talking about, politicizing this whole event and everything. But not only that, there's tons of conspiracy theories out there as well. Get your foil hats.
That's right, you tinfoil hat people.
And one of those conspiracy theories is because of the fact that Texas is very independent. If you've ever met a Texan before, you know that when you ask them where they're from, the first thing they're going to tell you is not the United States. We're from Texas.
Texas.
Yeah, very proud of our state. Not now. So the conspiracy theory that I've been hearing a lot about right now is the fact that Texas is so independent, and that's just how we are, that somehow or another the elites of this world manipulated the weather to the point where Texas was directly affected to bring Texas to its knees and understand that they are the ones in power and we have to basically conform. That's the big conspiracy theory.
I have not heard that. Mainly because I don't subscribe to the same BS that you do. That might be it. You might need to block some people on Facebook. That's all I gotta say.
Wow.
Dinner hungry. No, I'm just kidding. I'm such a jerk. Okay, but whatever. No apologies.
The one I saw, it wasn't about. Well, no, I think I saw the one about weather manipulation.
Yeah.
I've been seeing the one about the fake snow.
What?
Yes.
I've heard that
This
one
is
too.
something that I saw years ago because there was like I think it was like on YouTube, like before TikTok was around.
That the
People
snow
were taking-
doesn't melt, right?
That they were taking lighters to snow, and because it burned and like it didn't turn to water, they were like, "Oh, it's fake snow. It's government generated." So, science. The snow doesn't automatically turn to water. It
Right.
crumbles into itself, turns in, and the black burn is actually from the lighter. But yeah, it was going all around like, oh, because it's turning black and it's burning. It's government
Illuminati.
made snow.
I
Yeah.
just shut up. I have not heard that. Any of that.
Yeah.
But again, I subscribe to very different people on Facebook than you tinfoil hat, flat earther people listen to. All right. Okay, cool. I'm glad we had this talk. The conspiracy theory things that I'm hearing, it's not really conspiracy theory, but the political stuff is
Right.
that, Texas we're independent. We're Texas. Rah, rah, rah. We're not going to let the national government tell us what to do. And we're going to be independent, blah, blah, blah. And then ERCOT, whatever
Right.
the acronym stands for. If somebody wants to Google that, go ahead and do that so I don't sound dumb.
I just had it up too.
Okay, cool. Shit. Stop. Shoot.
Oh, almost. Almost.
Okay, anyway.
We apologize
What had
for that
happened
one word.
Dang it. Okay.
Oh, Electric Reliability Council of Texas.
Reliability.
Reliability.
Really?
And they're not even from Texas. Like the majority of them not from Texas. And I don't think because they're from out of state, they were just like, oh well,
No.
we don't care. But they don't understand, Texas or whatever. But then let's just talk about Ted Cruz for a second. So, but the thing is that everybody was
Wow.
saying that,
Here we go.
that they're from out of state. They don't understand. They're shutting down grids here and there. And they couldn't turn things back on because there wasn't enough juice and blah, blah, blah. I really don't understand all of this stuff. I was just trying to, get warm, you know?
Yeah.
And, but then everybody, talks about Ted Cruz and he went on vacation. So what do you guys think about that?
You really want to know?
No, but yeah, for,
Yes,
for
I want
viewers'
to
sake,
You wanna know?
they want to
If
know.
I was in Ted Cruz's shoes, and I had the money that Ted Cruz had, and I had a family like he has, and I got no power in my house, the water's not on.
I'll bet you he had power.
No, he did it. He said he did it. That's what
Whatever.
he said. Now, whether you believe him or not, that's entirely
whatever.
different.
Yeah.
Either way.
I'm taking it for what he said.
Yeah.
So he said he had no utilities in his home.
Okay.
His wife was complaining already, and I'm not saying complaining like a nagging wife
what
or
are you
anything.
saying,
I'm
Rob?
saying she was expressing that, hey, it's cold. We need to get out of here. We need to do something. So he got his family and they went to Cancun. I'll be honest. If I was in his situation and I had that kind of money, I'd be going to Cancun too.
So we can talk about the wall later, but so
Wall aside, that's a completely different thing.
I mean, I was under the impression that this was some kind of vacation they'd already planned ahead of time.
Nope.
He hadn't planned it.
Oh, snap!
That's what they said at
that
first.
changes
but,
everything.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because even he said himself that the kids wanted to go. Like
Yes.
he put it on his
Son of a
kids.
biscuit. I just can't.
Yeah. So no, it was not planned. He said so himself.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, Lord help
so
me.
I
Okay.
mean, technically he didn't do anything wrong per se.
They didn't do anything right.
But
it was like
that
she
was
said.
a bad PR move.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you guys
Bad
seen
PR
those
move.
memes that like there's that quote that like something when Texas freezes over or whatever?
Oh,
Yeah.
the Titanic one.
No, I mean
no.
I gotta find it. Like there's like
There's memes all over the
like
place.
I
yeah.
will change this blah 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 when Texas freezes over, and we're like, and now
And that's the thing. I mean, he has so many things already. You know, the fact that some quotes that he made a while back about California's rolling blackouts were coming to bite him. And then, too, yes, he has every right to take a vacation. But when even though he couldn't have
you gotta stand with your people. Though.
Exactly. Even when he couldn't have done anything about it. We had people, Democratic leaders outside of Texas who were, trying to raise money, whether it was politically, it's politically charged. It's all political, it's all for, the show or whatever. There's no, I'm sorry, I'm jaded. Politicians don't care about you. They don't,
Don't apologize for being jaded.
Yeah. So
It's character.
yeah. So I saw a meme that said like idolizing a politician is like thinking the stripper really likes you.
I'm gonna hold on to that one for a long time.
I've never seen that before.
Now, everybody that's been listening to this show knows where I lean politically, but I'll be the
Oh,
first
I
one.
thought you were gonna say something about strippers.
No. But I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm glad that AOC came to Texas and raised the money that she did.
Yeah.
I really am. And I'm glad because that's money that goes into my state to help my people here in Texas.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care where her heart was when she did it. I don't care if she did it to try to get votes. I don't
But
care.
she did it.
The
Yes.
fact is that she did it.
Yeah.
So much respect for that. I got
Clarify
for that,
who you're speaking about.
what's Alexandria Occasional Cortex? I mean Ocasio Cortez.
just make sure you guys remember this name. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And
I mean,
everybody,
I'm a fan.
everybody
so-
knows how I feel about her. I don't like her. I
do.
don't like anyone pretty much on the left. That's just
and
how
I'm
I
against-
am.
we're not the same.
No, we're not. But like I said, I'll be the first one to say I was happy when I heard that she was doing
Yeah.
that. I'll shake her hand just for that
And
alone. You know
that's
what I
something
mean?
that I wish people would do. And that's what I've been seeing more and more, especially with this whole fiasco, is just this blindness, forget AOC, like she's just a libtard,
Yeah.
just Democrat or whatever.
That
just
stuff pissed me off.
Stop it. Just
Who cares?
blind.
The ones-
Yeah,
Take-
exactly.
take-
Who cares?
I was getting mad at the ones that were like, "We don't need her over here." Hey, if she's wanting to bring money to the state, if you're not
They need it.
in a dilemma, then shut up.
You know
there
what
are
you
people
need?
that are.
You need people that care. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
Yes.
I mean,
Democrat
it could
or
be
Republican.
politically
Exactly.
charged, but I mean, because I like her, but I do think that she cares. So
I just wish that there was still to the point. And there are some people like you guys, you're still friends. You have opposite, political standpoints, but my political standpoint is not my personality.
Exactly.
It's not everything about who I
Exactly.
am, and it doesn't blind me to other opinions.
And that's how we should be. That's really how we should be in this
Yes.
country. I have other friends that, during the time that Trump was president, they were always dogging on me, and you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Very good friend of
Was
ours.
it me?
No, it was somebody
But
else.
more
But-
than one.
Good, 'cause I
People
kept it
who were
quiet.
Democrat.
Right,
yeah.
but him and I are still friends. I just talked to him this weekend. He's a great friend of mine. He's been there for us in bad times. We've been there for him. And I know he doesn't like Trump, but it doesn't matter. We're still friends. I know you don't like Trump. I know that there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we disagree on, but here we are. We're still friends. We love each other.
I mean,
And
so you think I'm just here to advertise my businesses
I just wish that the country.
and for the margaritas and the Topo Chico.
I just wish the country
And
was
chips.
more like that as a whole. Personally,
I mean, not even just the country, but just the world in general.
Yeah.
Real quick, can I just say something just because I'm selfish? So you're like, if I had the opportunity to leave, I had the opportunity. I was supposed to be in Puerto Rico.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
when I had this, like, I was trying to lose weight for my Puerto Rico body?
remember.
It's my sister's birthday. It was on Saturday, and we were supposed to leave on Thursday, which was in the second, like...
Were you taking your kids?
No.
Right? No.
No. Why would... No.
Okay, but that's
on my vacation?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
With
my
my
but that's
hot
my
body?
point. But that's my point with the Ted Cruz thing. What if you knew you could take your kids to get out of the cold and just go spend some time in Puerto Rico or
Yeah,
in
I guess I would.
that
But
was
she's not an elected official.
I mean, no, you know what?
to me the elected
You know
official
what? I will
thing.
do everything I can to protect my children. Yes, that is
Right,
for
and
sure.
that's my
Like,
point.
such as leave them with their dad.
Right.
And not spend time with them, even though I miss them.
Exactly, and that's my whole
Exactly.
point. I
Yeah.
get what you're saying about the elected official thing, but at the end of the day, when it's your kids, it's your family. Hey, I love my state.
But no, don't say even if it's elected. But no, that's your job. Your job is to make
I'm sorry.
sure.
We have to
No,
disagree on that one.
We're going to disagree.
Even
But,
though
like,
it's not in
but-
his job description, but a political official's whole standpoint is connecting with the people.
and to serve the people, and your children are the people, and so I mean, if you want to look at it from like a philosophical perspective on if we want to just like is the minority, is the one person more important, or is the whole
Right.
person sacrificing the small for the greater good of the whole?
Right.
That is the perspective that I take.
Right.
Versus the perspective of like saving the self to whatever, you know. So, in the sense of what he did, that is the perspective. I mean, it seems it's kind of selfish
Right.
in my sense. You know, in my eyes, it is selfish because inevitably he could have kept his children safe and he could have kept his children warm and still taken care of, sacrificed the comfort of his children and his family to create. I mean, it's not necessarily
Or he
like
could-
if
he
he
could have even
stayed,
said
it
them.
doesn't mean that everybody would have been warmer.
So
But
Yeah, what would
I
he,
mean-
what would he do?
So let me jump in right here. So where I live at in Webster, so y'all don't know this, but all the hotels in Webster were booked out.
yeah,
People from other cities were from around the Houston community were coming into
Right.
Webster because we had electricity, we had restaurants, we had fast food chains, we had grocery stores open, we had everything.
Right.
So I mean, take your kids to a hotel. You know, go to the power grid.
Like,
Look at the
because
thing.
everybody can afford that. Will
No,
He
no,
can.
Ted Cruz
Oh,
can.
he could. Okay,
Ted Cruz
sorry.
can.
That's just it. They would have been okay.
They'd
He
been
could have
fine.
found some. You know, they were probably okay to begin
Okay,
with.
so let's
Yeah.
say so for argument's
What's
sake.
cheaper, a
hold up.
hotel or Cancun?
Hold up. For
Whose
argument's
dime
sake.
was it on?
For argument's
Mine?
sake. For argument's sake. Let's say he did it, right? He didn't. He had his kids and they didn't go anywhere. What was he going to do?
It's not even about physically doing something, but it's about standing in solidarity with the people that you represent.
The people who you solicit votes from.
It's called
Because I'm sorry-
compassion.
I'm sorry,
You
that-
go
that's
eat your
what it comes
freaking
down-
grape. You know, Rob.
That's what
You
it
know?
comes down to. You know, with politics, that's what it is.
I mean,
That's
but it,
me eating my grape.
You're gonna take another one. Give me one of those. I'm gonna throw it at him. Let's see if I can. Actually,
I mean,
I'm
it's
just gonna eat
you
it.
know, it's you know, like when the small company, you know, with low paid employees gets mad because the CEO takes a bonus, or when, you know, it's just you want to see the people who are in charge be in solidarity with,
sacrifice.
yeah.
It's
And not even
necessarily
sacrifice. He's
suffer with
fine,
you,
but yeah, just be in solidarity with you, care about you.
Doesn't he
You
live
know-
in Houston?
I have no idea.
I guess we should know. I was like,
Yeah,
this guy.
but I mean,
I'm like,
but that's
wait,
just that's just what it comes from, you know. I mean, yes, it was he didn't do anything illegal. I mean, from what I understand, he did it on his own dime. Okay, that's fine. But again, it just looks bad. It looks like you don't care. It looks like what?
I'm just like, let's talk logic for a second here. All right, Rob?
Okay.
All right, hold on there. Hold on.
He lived in Houston.
Okay, so we're talking about it's okay for Ted Cruz to leave,
Okay,
right? And
yeah.
it's fine. But you're not okay with the people that run our grid, the ERCOT people being from out of state?
No, I'm not okay with that.
Okay, it's the same thing because
How?
they're out of state. How come they're out of state? So how come they cannot be compassionate and understand and still make good decisions for the people that are here versus him doing the same thing from being away and making good decisions?
Well, I'm
for the
actually-
people
I mean,
that
I
are
feel
here?
like they should be though.
But that's what I'm saying. So him leaving is the same thing as other people being
Well,
out
here's
of
the thing, I'm
state
not-
and making decisions for people within
So I'm not
Texas.
saying that they were like they didn't care about us over here. What I'm saying is because they're not here, and I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just saying the fact that they weren't here, they didn't know the urgency that was really going on. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but he
that?
wasn't either.
No, he was here.
And he left.
Yeah, exactly, because he could. What I'm saying is, the perspective that I'm coming from is that here's a family man.
But it doesn't change the fact that you're like, well, what can he do? So those people,
Yeah.
let's say that they did know the urgency.
Right.
But what could they do, Rob?
Honestly, I don't know exactly.
Exactly.
What it is they
It's
do.
the same thing.
I don't know,
That's my point. Is that if you're gonna like, throw some shade at those people that
Mm-hmm.
are running our grid and our electricity and they don't understand and they're not here and they're not compassionate, but then we've got our person that is one of us and is supposed to represent us and he's not here, and you're saying, well, he can still make decisions and he can still be compassionate and do all these things. It's the same thing.
But see, in my assumption, those people control the grid. There is some stuff they could have done. Don't ask me what it is. I don't know.
Yes,
But
but
that's
he
the
could have
thing,
spoken
though.
for it. Like he could have voted. He was part. I mean, God, someone's gonna get on my case for this for not being educated on it. But he was part of, there are people that were part of the decision to have the decision to have ERCOT be the people that govern our
I got you.
I mean,
right?
that's been
And that's a political thing.
God knows how
Right.
long, though.
Right. It's not necessarily him, but like just that body, and he's part of that,
Okay.
that makes that decision on who's going to govern what's happening
Gotcha.
in Texas. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
The only thing I'm going to say about that, though, because again, going to the ERCOT thing, ERCOT, that was their job. Like, whether they're from Texas or not, they should have been able to make good decisions. They should, if you're in charge of the Texas grid, you need to know some things, and I get it, playing the whole devil's advocate thing. Yes, this is unprecedented. Yes, we've never had temperatures this low. We had record temperatures,
sure.
but at the
Absolutely.
same time,
for a long amount of time.
yeah, exactly. But ERCOT, like, that's what they get paid for. That is their job. That's why the electric reliability count, we're supposed to be able to rely on them to make these decisions, and they didn't.
Right.
Again, from what I know, because God knows, I can't find any, unbiased actual information out there.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the part
True.
that's the most frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they took.
I wanna be educated, but I can't be.
They took the board members' names off of everything because they were getting death threats. But we were like, no, that was just that wasn't what was happening. That they just did that because they're trying to cover their butts. But
Right.
Yeah.
anyway, I don't even.
Yeah.
Either way, I was cold.
That's what
It's
it all
been-
boils
it's
down
been a
to.
wacky
It was,
week.
It was cold. The night that everything started, right? This is what was really crazy. So the night everything started was on Saturday, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was cold on Friday.
No, I know,
remember.
but
Oh, yeah.
Saturday
I mean,
is when the precipitation
when
started.
it was
and all
really
that.
coming down.
So for those of y'all that don't know, y'all remember our good friends Relent. Okay,
Yeah.
Relent, our boys, awesome Christian metal band. I mean, great friends of ours. So this is all a behind the scenes thing, but the Relent boys wanted me to barbecue for them. And the reason why was just kind of a celebration because they're working on a new album. They had their first week recording in Houston,
Yep.
which you got to hang out with them while they were over there. Yeah. So they chose the date of February 20th. And it happened to be the day that all this stuff started happening. So
Yep.
I'm
Oh, that's right.
outside.
It was already. It had been
Yeah,
going on
It
for
was
a while.
cold.
By the
So
time-
I'm
It was a couple days
outside.
now.
I'm outside smoking a brisket in 30-degree weather. If that ain't Texas, I don't know what is. So, man, the Relent boys came over to the house. They hung out for a while, but then of course they left kind of early because
It
it
was
started.
cold. It started snowing.
So our good friend Miggy, who's the lead singer of the band, right? He actually, along with you, Will, y'all were the last two that stayed here the longest. I think y'all left at what, like 10, maybe? Somewhere around 10 o'clock, maybe.
Like
Yeah,
9,
it was
10.
a little later. Yeah.
So you had to pull over and spend the night in Columbus or something
No, it was in I didn't even make it to Columbus.
Wow.
I made it an hour away from here.
Okay. Yeah. So he had to, because he called me. He said he had to spend. Miggy, who lives up the road in San Antonio, that would normally have been about a 45 to an hour drive where he lives, it took him over 2 hours to get home that night. Yeah, that night. And then you were talking earlier about how some people left their houses and actually went in the car, turned on the car. He
Waited in the Whataburger line for 5 hours.
Yeah.
It was 5 hours.
So Miggy was one of those people. He took his family and they went into their car, turned on the car, had the heater, and they were watching DVDs and
Yeah.
I think I saw
I
that.
mean, but
Yeah.
we did. We do have technology.
yeah, which was good.
Yeah.
Were you waiting in the Whataburger line?
All right. So what had happened was,
Hey, Texas and Whataburger. What can I
Dude.
say?
Whataburger came through.
That's how we do.
All right, so everything's
Tell
closed.
us.
You can't get food, and Kim was saying, so we're trying to conserve food, like the food that we have. She's like, I don't know when the electricity's gonna come on. I'm trying to keep the stuff cold and frozen as much as possible,
Right.
Because even when it warms up, if the electricity is not on, we need to be able to cook the food that we have. The grocery stores may not be stocked,
Right.
So we're gonna eat breakfast, and then I'm gonna go at lunchtime. We're gonna go get food,
Right.
and that's gonna be our lunch, dinner, whatever. And then
Right.
the kids can kind of graze and snack. So like, all right, cool, let's do that. And I figured also while we do that, I can go by my house and check on it, make sure my cats aren't dead and they've pooped all over the place, which
Right.
they did. And so we get in the line and we're at Whataburger, and you guys,
I saw the line at Whataburger.
people are serious about their Whataburger.
Oh, yeah.
So where we were in San Marcos, and I think there's 2 Whataburger locations, and they
Yes.
had one open at a time, and they closed down one entrance because it was backing up so much that it was causing problems in the intersection.
Yes.
So basically, you had to come in off of I-35 instead of off of Highway 123. Y'all,
Oh,
San
wow.
Martians, y'all know what I'm talking about.
That was
so
the highway
we get
I
in
saw.
that line. We get in that line off of the highway, right? And we're there, and people are like inching. We're not letting anybody in.
Oh, yeah,
And
no.
there's other restaurants over there that that some were open, right? And of course, you know me, I have to pee every like 2 minutes, right? So I'm there and I'm like, I gotta pee. We're not moving very far. So like I walk into a restaurant and I act like I'm ordering something that I don't. And I go in and I go pee, and then I come back out and I slip and whatever.
Oh, no.
And I make, whatever. If I had to, I'd have peed on the side of the road. No one cares. Okay. So we get back in the car, but we started at like 3:30,
Right.
And we're finally making our way, and it like snakes through the Whataburger parking lot.
Oh, my God.
And people are finding ways to cut through and cut in, but there's solidarity. This is where San Martians are like, I got you. And so they're like edging up, making sure that other people don't come in, because you
Right.
can see where they're driving around other restaurants to come in. There are cones on Highway 123 so they wouldn't come in, right? So eventually, about 4.5 hours into it, these people start cutting through those cones and they're trying to sneak in, and people are curving around. I was like, no. And people are yelling from their cars. And I'm outside smoking my vape, as I do. And people are edging up, and I was like, don't let him in. And I'm yelling at him, just egging him on. And this chick comes out, and she's in her pajamas, because that's Texans, right? Because we don't have warm stuff.
Yes.
And it's onesie pajamas and boots and
Yeah.
a jacket. And she comes out, and she's yelling at somebody, and they're trying to edge in, and people are, trying to block them off. And this girl's flipping her finger in the air like, well, I've been here since blah, blah, blah. And they're yelling at each other.
Right.
And I was like, I was going to go get those cones. Let's block it off. So we ended up going to get cones, and we're getting cussed out. Of course, I'm recording, and then I slip while I'm recording, and you
Of
can
course.
see me recording, and I fall. But people are just cussing us out. So Whataburger stops production, and all of the employees come out to settle the argument.
Oh,
So
wow.
Caitlin's out there with me, because I'm setting a good example for my child, right? And so she's out there. She's like, don't you talk to me. And these guys are yelling at Kim in the car, and she's like, oh, let me see you get out of that car. No, that's right. Anyway, it was really fun. And we're like, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm about to order. Because we were already.
Texas family activities.
But here's the thing. We would have either been at home without electricity, or we could be in our car warm and on our phones charging in the Whataburger line. So,
Yeah.
that's where
About
we
to
were.
fight.
That's where we're about
And that's
to fight.
probably why
That's
people
like-
waited as long as they
And
did.
they did. The line was so long. So,
And you provided entertainment for all those poor
Exactly.
people who were just
The
And here's-
family that fights together stays
Stays
together.
together. Here's the funny part. Okay, so while I'm recording, right? And this girl's coming up, and we're grabbing the cones, and I grab a cone, and I'm recording. As I'm walking past, the cars behind us, they are cheering. They're like, woo! They're like, yeah! And they have their mask on, they roll their window like, thank you! It's like, we've been in this line since 2:30. They're not going gonna cut. Even though they weren't gonna cut in front of them, they're like, we're cheering for the people that have been waiting behind us. And
Wow.
you know, again, San Marcos together, San Marcos strong. Those people had to be from New Braunfels. That's all I
They'll
gotta say.
never take on Whataburger.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, so the Whataburger people, they came out and they kind of settled it, and they blocked off the rest of 123 again. And,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, and then I get a text from a friend the next day. She's like, "Hey, were you in an altercation at Whataburger with a woman in a yellow Hummer?" I'm like, no. I don't remember a yellow Hummer. She's like, okay, because there was this woman, she almost hit somebody and she sprayed them with pepper spray. I was like, oh, that wasn't our altercation. Ours was completely different.
Texans do not play with their
That one was
Whataburger.
in New Braunfels. Then people are vicious.
Yeah,
That's all I gotta say.
that's the one thing about Texas. You don't mess with Whataburger. You don't talk bad
And you don't
about
mess with HEB.
Yeah.
Don't talk bad about Buc-ee's either. 'Cause
Oh no. Oh, speaking of HEB, did you see that? Whenever they had to start putting limits on the amount of food you could buy, did you see what that list was that they
One of them
released?
had ice.
Huh?
yes.
One of the list was like,
Oh, yes.
limit 2 bags of ice, and you're like, who wants ice?
I mean,
Brisket.
yeah, who's buying? Yes, there was a limit of 2 on briskets, and then there was also a limit on chitlins.
Oh, no, was it chitlins or
Yes.
was it like chicharrones?
No, it was chitlins.
Chitterlings.
Chitterlings.
Chillings.
Is that
Chitlins.
is that,
Chitlins.
is that like a Texas emergency go-to?
guess.
Apparently, because there was a.
I guess I need to add that to
There was
my
a limit
list.
of 2. There was a limit of 2 on the 5-pound packs, and another limit of 2 on the 10-pound packs.
Okay, so
I did not
when-
know that was a thing.
I'm surprised
but-
chorizo wasn't on the list.
Okay, so I'm going to put that on my flood preparation list of things to add.
Like-
that I need to make sure that I have.
Chitterlings.
Yes,
Chitterlings.
I have that on my
I thought
list.
that was the most hilarious thing. And at the top of that list was brisket.
Oh, absolutely.
Not chicken. Not, but no.
No, we Texas.
Brisket.
It's about the brisket.
It's time to go barbecue.
You know I would have done it again.
Oh, you would have.
I mean, because I
Gotta
bought,
stay
I bought
warm
4.
around the grill.
I don't talk like that. All right, we got to take another break. Now, when we come back from this break, we've been talking all about Snowpocalypse and just all the stuff we went through. We're going to talk about some positive stuff, and I really want to focus the light on Michelle's artwork. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll even talk a little bit about some music stuff as well. So stick with us. We'll be right back after these messages. There was a time when a man could walk into a barbershop, sit back and relax and escape the cares of the day, while a skilled craftsman turned his look from mountain man to classy gentleman. Well, neighbor, that time is now at Hanley's Good Time and Barbershop. At Hanley's, they specialize in men's haircuts, including beard trims and classic straight razor shaves. They won't forget that hot towel either. You can schedule an appointment on their website at hanleysbarbershop.com. That's HANLEYS barbershop.com. Located in San Marcos, Texas at 322 West Hopkins between Selleck's and Gumby's Pizza, right in the old Thomas house. When you get there, talk to old Dow and let him know the boys at What's On My Mind podcast sent you, and you'll get a complimentary cold one or shot of whiskey. Hanley's Good Time and Barbershop, where good times meet good vibes. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Rob T, from What's On My Mind. Listen, we're about to start the podcast. Before we do, I just wanted to say a few words about our awesome sponsor, Metroflex Gym San Marcos. We've been pumping them like crazy on the show, and there's a reason for that. You see, it was a few years ago, it's probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I first stepped into Metroflex. I got to meet the owners, Daniel and Michelle Haggerty, and let me tell you something. Just them alone makes the very reason why I go to this gym. Back at that time, I was at my heaviest at 465 pounds. Yeah, pretty heavy, I know. Anyway, I walked into the gym. I talked to Daniel and told Daniel exactly what was going on with me at the time. I had some health issues and things like that. And he wasn't interested about, the money. He was interested more in me and my health. And I will never, ever forget that. So, it's for that reason alone that I still continue to go to Metroflex. This is about 6 years ago. Now, since then, I've had, fluctuations, of course, as we all do. But the one thing that I love is that these guys don't give up on me. They don't call me a quitter. They don't press me or anything, but they definitely motivate me. If you are looking for a gym that is going to look at you and care for you like family, I'm telling you, you've got to go to Metroflex Gym San Marcos. If you're in the San Marcos area, it could be Kyle, Buda, could be New Braunfels. You're not that far away. Metroflex Gym is really not that far away. Look, the address, it's really simple. It's 2101 Clovis Barker Road, San Marcos, Texas, 78666. That's Highway 123, like you're going to Seguin. It's not that far. Okay, look, if you want more information, look them up online, www.metroflexsanmarcos.com, or give them a call, 512-878-8575. Metroflex Gym. They care for you like family, but also it is the hardcore place to get back in shape. Don't forget, Metroflex Gym. Hey, are you a super fan of the What's on My Mind podcast? Are you ready to show it off? Well, now you can, because we've got official merchandise. You need a t-shirt so that your friends can know who you listen to? All you got to do is contact us, WOMMpodcast@gmail.com. We got shirts, we got cups, we got stickers, all for you. Contact us today. And we are back. And this last segment we are doing here tonight is brought to you by our friends over at Collector University. Y'all know the place. We've been talking about it for several weeks now. Collector University, where you can get all of your pop culture collectibles, comics, cards, toys, you name it, they got it. And if they don't got it, they'll find it and get it for you at a great price. Just find them on Facebook, find them on Instagram. Just look up Collector University. All the business is done on eBay. Talk to Professor J. He will hook you up with the latest and greatest in pop culture collectibles. That is Collector University. All right. So we are back, man. We've been talking this whole time about Snowpocalypse. I like that. Or Snowvid 21, whatever you want to call it. Which, ironically enough, you didn't really hear much talk about COVID during that week.
Yeah, nobody.
Yeah.
Like, come to my house. Come to my house and stay with me.
Yeah. So anyway, but this last segment, I kind of want to focus on the more positive side of things. I mean, we're here, we're alive, we made it through. Thankfully, you know, our loved ones, for the most part, they're all doing well. Melissa's father still doesn't have water, but
he's doing all right.
He's doing good. Yeah, he got a shower today, I think. So
Texas is strong.
Yes, Texas is very strong, and I love being a Texan. But Michelle, I want to talk a little bit about your artwork.
Right.
For those that don't remember, Michelle is an awesome artist. Mm-hmm. She's doing it for a long, long time.
Because I'm old.
Seen her work, have actually purchased her work, and beautiful, beautiful stuff. But you're currently working on a project right now.
Yeah.
And you were talking a little bit about it before we started the show. And I love it when you talk about your art because I just see you light up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I talk about music.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a little bit different than when I talk about the gym. I mean,
Yes.
I love my gym,
Yes.
but art, my degrees are, I have a degree in painting and I have a degree in philosophy. So if you get me talking on either of those subjects,
Right.
that's my home. That's
Right.
my love.
So what's the project you're working on right now? Can you
Well,
talk about it, first of all?
Yeah, I can. I'm actually working on 2 projects right now. I'm working on a lot of projects, actually. I'm exhausted.
And you have your own studio now, too.
I have my own
Yeah, that's
studio.
awesome.
I do. I'm so excited about it. I have my own studio where people can come and they can see the art and they can come in and flip through art and prints. We can talk about commissions, things like that. It's a place where people can come, see it, and purchase artwork. And I love
Awesome.
it. And eventually I will start teaching classes.
Nice.
That's my goal. My goal eventually someday would be to open some kind of nonprofit. But for right now, it's a means to an end is to continue to make art. But I'm really excited. I have so many commissions, and that was one reason why I actually didn't go to Puerto Rico was because it was for my sister's birthday, but I had, everything was pushed back so much, and I had all of these commissions and that were lined up before and after my trip, and I had to not do that, and I wanted to see my babies.
Of course.
I wanted to see my babies, and I had commissions. But so I have 2 big mural projects going on. One of them is for a new birthing center that's going to be here in San Marcos, which is the first ever birthing center in San
awesome.
Marcos.
Oh.
Yes, it's amazing. So my midwife that was supposed to deliver my baby, so she's opening that, and I'm going to paint 2 murals in there. So it's just beautiful and cozy. But the one that I was doing today, as you can see, I'm sunburned on my cheeks and my hands are covered in paint right now.
Yeah.
It's a it's an amazing passion project. It's for a nonprofit. So the place is called Community First Village. It's in Austin. It's a tiny home village for the homeless, for the chronic homeless. So
Right.
I think that to qualify to rent or, to lease one of the homes there, I think you have to be homeless for over 20 plus years or 30 plus years or something like that. And they also have facilities there to teach you certain life skills to help you create income so that you can pay for those things.
Nice.
But it's basically a place where construction companies and other nonprofits can sponsor a home or build a home for free so that somebody could stay there. So it's called Community First, and it's been there for a while. And there's some amazing, there's some crazy houses. Like I told you, there are some that are like 3D printed houses. Right. So the project that I'm working on, there's
Hear that, Will? 3D printed.
3D printed houses. They're so, gosh, if you look at these places, they're the things that you see on HGTV and
Right.
people would pay so much money for.
Right.
But instead of rich people getting them, they're for people that have been homeless for almost their entire lives, which
That's
I
awesome.
think is amazing. I just, you get goosebumps when you go there.
Yeah.
It's, and it's very private. So I have to be careful. I can't post pictures and videos and stuff because
Right.
there are people that live there, and you can't put anybody on blast there.
Of course.
But so the project I'm working on is for a hydration station, which is basically an area where people can fill up water bottles and get clean water for cooking and stuff. So all of the homes are completely furnished when somebody moves in, and they have all of the electricity, but they don't have water. So there's kitchens and things like that. So this hydration station is built out of cinder blocks, and there's going to be water components to it. All of that hasn't been built yet.
Right.
So I'm painting a mural on that, and I'm donating my skills as a muralist for that. And it's really, it's great.
Yeah.
It's humbling. And I also get to just, also get my foot in the door with people that I haven't worked with before, because I work with a lot of people in San Marcos, but I really don't have anything in Austin. I mean, I've put artwork up in different places in Austin, but this is something different. And me, I love nonprofits.
Right.
I've worked for several nonprofits before to raise money for people, like the wine competition that I work for. And this is something completely different. But there's a construction company that built a tiny home, and they built this water station, and a nonprofit called Home Aid. My friend is the executive director for that. And she sent me all of these talking points, which I haven't even read yet because I've just been nonstop. But I bought all of my supplies, and I went out there to paint some, poppies out there on these walls. And it just feels really good to make art. And it feels really good to complain about being so busy. I'm
Yeah,
so
that's
busy
good.
Yeah.
with art and commissions. And commissions, I'm not sure if everybody even understands what the word commission means, but it's basically when somebody asks me to paint something for them, they pay me specifically to do something. And I have so many. I'm booked solid, and it just feels really good,
Nice.
that I'm doing something that I love.
That's awesome. Yeah, because when you're doing something you love, it's not really work.
I mean, it's work, but it's a different type of reward,
Right, right.
To say that I'm tired because I'm doing all of these things, I am exhausted. I mean, I'm battling like an autoimmune disease that I recently discovered that I have, and I can barely lift my arms. Yeah. Oh, all kinds of fun stuff. And
Well, that's a bombshell to drop on us.
yeah, we can talk about that another day. But I'm battling fatigue, and when
Yeah.
I get really stressed, my body just gets so weak I can barely lift my arms. So yesterday when I went to go paint, I was just painting base coat of like this simple gray color, and I could barely lift the paint roller to finish it. So I did as much as I could, and then today I went and I painted some more color, and I painted one of the flowers, and I met one of the people that had just signed his first lease. He'd been homeless for 30 years.
Wow.
There was actually a mural that was painted of him in Austin. I met him, and I met his, I guess like a caseworker, somebody that has been working with him for a long time and helped
Right.
him get placement. And just without putting too much detail in there,
Yeah.
but it's just really amazing to see somebody like that, sign, just anybody be able, you know what it's like. You guys are first time home buyers, and it's just to have a place for yourself.
Yes.
It is overwhelming. and
Yes.
indescribable.
Yes.
And if you can imagine being homeless for over 20 years and to have a place to call your own, it's extremely intimidating.
Oh, for sure.
And to create a little pocket of beautiful for them to see, it was right by when he opens up his front door, it's right there.
That's awesome.
And that makes me really happy to be
That's
able to
awesome.
do something like
I
that.
love that.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And they also, the people that live there also contribute to building other homes and working on the landscaping and things like that. And it's very private. So whenever I first walked, when I met with everybody on the project, there's several hands that go into one simple little project is this hydration station. They let us drive around on a little go-kart or a golf cart
Right.
throughout the community, and then the older part of the community before it was, like all the houses are very different, and the new homes are very modern. It's just the stuff that you see on HGTV,
Right.
To see other murals and other things and people that have been living there for so long, it helps. It's just Austin. Austin gets a bad rap for being so liberal and woo woo or whatever, but they're doing I see eyes rolling, but they do great things. And it's amazing. It's just, I don't know, it's overwhelmingly,
There's love there.
I feel just lucky to be part of that.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And the thing that I keep thinking of is that's going to be there for a long time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's your mark.
Oh, my mural?
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully. I mean, I use good paint. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's your mark on that place. Who knows,
Yeah.
20 years later, there it's still going to be, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, and I hope, with every job that I do, there's other murals. So I did a mural for a place here in San Marcos that it's a church here in town, and I did these big giant irises. I was gonna do it for free because during the flood they gave me free tuition for the boys to
that's
continue
awesome.
going to school while I was going through chemo and all kinds. It was rough.
Wow.
And we're broke,
Yeah.
and
What church is that?
First
Gotta say
United
it.
Methodist Church,
That's awesome.
and the Mother's Day out, and
That's
they ended
great.
up paying me for it, though I could not. I mean, more than I was amazed.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even think of the word for it.
Yeah.
But there as an artist, you want to make your mark, but also as a professional artist, you want to make your mark, but you also want to make sure that it's not compromising your artistic ability, but you also want to make sure that you are fulfilling the desires and the need for whatever that community has and fit that aesthetic and my actual artwork as well, and find like a happy medium in between the two. So what I'm painting isn't necessarily like my greatest artwork, that it's just this super hyper realistic poppy,
Right.
but the point of it is to create something beautiful and some joy, when people see it.
Right, of course.
And to create, so it's got this bright yellow and orange sunsetty looking background with
awesome.
orange reddish poppies on it. And so hopefully, and it's very simple. But I mean, I can paint a portrait,
Yeah.
but I wasn't going to do something hyper realistic there.
Right.
So hopefully it makes people smile. That's
awesome.
all I really want to do.
Every time you say poppies, I think of Wizard of Oz. Poppies.
I love poppies. Like my head
Poppies.
tattoo is poppies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I love poppies.
Dude, that's all. So as an artist, have you done that one piece of work that you would say is a masterpiece, or have you not done that yet?
I don't know. I mean, you know what? You're going to think I'm crazy for this. By masterpiece, it's not necessarily something that is aesthetically like, wow, nobody's
Right.
ever done that before, but it's something that really represents my emotional state.
Yeah.
Because like I told you, I can paint a portrait. I can paint something super realistic. I
Right.
can take a pencil and draw a portrait and it looks realistic, like a photograph. And I paint a lot of the butterflies to represent pain and brokenness. I've been painting a lot of watercolor flowers, and they're just beautiful.
Right.
But the most recent thing that I did that makes me glow is it's a uterus and ovaries.
Is that what you put up for the Valentine's?
Yes. I mean, I made it funny, but it's a uterus.
She made it a card that said put a
baby in me.
baby in me.
So the actual painting, it was something that's been in my mind for years. Mm-hmm. And so my butterflies, what they represent are the beauty and brokenness, and their wings are torn and they're broken. But what I've started to do after breaking them was starting to repair the butterflies by putting gold leaf and gold paint.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of based off of this like Japanese pottery that when pottery breaks, you
I've
use
heard
gold
about
slip
that.
and it puts it back together. So it's not necessarily covering scars. You can see the scars, but you can see the beauty within that. Just like me, I've got scars all over my body for my hysterectomy and my cancer stuff, you know? And so the butterflies were kind of a representation of that. But this time it was more literal because I had ovarian cancer and I don't have ovaries. I don't have a uterus anymore, but I had ovarian cancer. So I painted the uterus and then the ovaries, but then I used gold leaf on the ovaries.
Wow.
And it's crazy because I'm a very a fast painter. Uh-huh. So something that would take somebody days to do or weeks, I can knock it out in a night.
Yeah.
I knocked this painting out in like less than 30 minutes.
Wow.
And I feel like, oh, this is complete. This is me. Like
That's awesome.
This is me.
Wow.
And that kind of stemmed, painting other organs. Like I painted a heart, and on that one I put I heart you.
Yeah.
And I was going to do lungs that say you take my breath away, like different types of cute little cards like that. But also these ovaries, these golden ovaries, that's me because I don't have them, and I don't have a uterus either. But, it's about that ovarian cancer awareness. And I was going to make other paintings. So the heart, I actually, within some of the veins and some of the arteries, I put gold leaf in there as well. And other organs and places that you can have cancer, which is almost anywhere.
Yeah.
Put gold leaf to represent that. So I'm going to have a series of cards, like more like sympathy cards that can go with that and prints and things. But I guess that would be my masterpiece just because it's very representational of my situation.
Yeah. That's one thing I love about artists. It's not just a picture. There's more behind it,
Yeah.
And for a long time I felt like I couldn't relate to that. Mm-hmm. But then when I started relating it to my art, which is music, it's the same thing. When I write a song, I put myself into it. I put my experiences into it. And it's the same thing, just like what you described. That's you. So I look at a song and who knows, it may suck to other people, but to me it's like, yeah, that's me. That's what I was feeling at that moment. That's my passion, my hurts, whatever at that moment,
Yeah, exactly.
And it feels, it's very fulfilling. And I just recently, actually, I'm still working on it. I'm currently writing a song and I've been putting myself into it and everything and going back and I can't stop reading it because it's just... That's
the stuff that people relate to.
Yeah.
So that's what I found. So I would try to mimic other artists and try to paint things that, I would paint the more commissions I do, and they're not necessarily, not that they're diluted, but I would paint commissions that people have requested, like paint me this bird or paint me this flower. And I was doing my quarantine portrait series for a while, which was very emotional, and people were so drawn to it.
But it's cool.
And it's not something that people bought or purchased, but it was a passion project, to paint the emotions of people during quarantine.
Yeah.
That's the same thing, like art, music, it's the same thing. It's not so much about what it is on the surface, but when you see something, you're like, oh, well, that's not that great. I mean, my kid can do that, but it's, if you see something and there's this emotional draw that you get from it, this connection, that's what makes a difference. Because, I painted a uterus and ovaries, and it's not anything spectacular, but when you look at it, you feel an emotion to it. And a lot of people purchased it. Somebody bought the heart, the original heart that I painted, and that took me like 30 minutes to do. I did it while I was in a Zoom meeting because I didn't feel like paying attention. And I was like, I gotta make some money for Valentine's Day, and it's the same thing as the song and as music, is that it doesn't have to reach everybody, but if it reaches you, if it's something that is true, it's going to reach so many more people than painting something that you think that it's going to appeal to the masses. You can make a song, you're like, oh, a lot of people are going to like this, and you're like, oh, I put it out there. It has all of the, it like checks off all of the boxes on the things that make good music, but it still doesn't nobody cares. Like it doesn't reach those people. Yeah, I can hear a dog chewing
Sorry.
on stuff right now. I don't really care. But it's kind of like you can check all the boxes on something that's going to make something a good form of art.
Right.
But it doesn't have that passion behind it.
Right,
So when it has
exactly.
that passion behind it, people see it.
Exactly. That's what's going to make the connection, like you said. So, and talking about art, I did want to mention this too. Music is art as well. And next weekend is the Sound for the Crown Festival. So I did want to make a brief mention about that. And this whole thing on a real positive note, wanted to talk about Michelle's art, which I want you to give all your social media and thing here in a
Yes.
second, okay?
Okay.
Definitely got to check it out.
Yeah, for sure. But next weekend, starting on March 5th, where the Sound for the Crown Festival begins. We've been working on this event for a year and are very excited. It's going to be an awesome festival, Christian rock festival in Poteet, Texas. It's going to be at the Poteet Music Pavilion. The address is 9125 State Highway 16, Poteet, Texas. 78065 is the zip code. Now, they're still selling tickets for this event. It is going to be socially distanced. They're following all the safety precautions. If you're not ready to venture out because of COVID, hey, we completely understand. You can still be a part of this festival. You can still check it out. All you got to do is go online. You go to ftkmg.com/SFTC. Go there. There's tickets for sale if you want to go physically, but there's also tickets for sale for the virtual live stream that's going to be going on as well. We got some great bands that are going to be headlining this event. We got Seventh Day Slumber. They have been in the Christian rock music game for years. They're very well known. Awesome ministry, awesome music, great brothers in Christ. Also co-headlining with them, San Antonio's own Relent is going to be there as well. If you haven't heard Relent, y'all are missing out. They got a great new metal feel to them, but I'm telling you, they're bringing something different to the game. You've got to check them out. Other bands that are going to be there are The Protests, Ignition, Becoming Sons, Zana, Stonewall Static, Rally of the Lost, Bloodlines. My bands that I'm in, Judge Not, we're going to be performing as well. I'm in another band called Stop the Sun. We're performing also. So this event's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. If you can make it out, we'd love to have you out there. We'd love to see you. There's going to be food for sale. There's going to be all kinds of great stuff going on. If you can go, hey, go check it out. It's going to be a great event. That's Sound for the Crown. For more information, like I said, go to ftkmg.com/SFTC. Sound for the Crown Music Fest, and we'll talk a little bit more about it next week as well. I'll make sure to remind everybody about the event. So I hope you guys can make it out there. Michelle, for those people that are listening right now that want to see more of your artwork or want to kind of, get into it a little bit more to see what you're all about, how can they find it?
I do have a website. It's not very up to date. So the best way to follow me is actually on Instagram.
Okay.
So it's Michi's _World of Chaos _art.
And that's MICHI, right?
It's MICHIS _World of Chaos _art. Even if you forget the _art, I have my Michi _World of Chaos actual page.
Right.
But if you go to my website, it's michisworldofchaos.com. And there are links to my website, a blog that I had kind of started, but I just kind of let it peter out over time. But that's really the best way to see my artwork. If you go to my website, you'll see a lot of my stuff and my style and some of my older things. But my most recent stuff, because I make things every day. Right. And I post as much as I possibly can, videos, time-lapse stuff, tutorials, things like that. Mm-hmm. All of that's really on my Instagram. But if you go to my website, you can subscribe to my email list and get on there. And one of these days, I will start sending out newsletters. And I've been trying to do it for a while, but we'll see what happens. And
she does great TikToks too, by the way.
Yes.
My TikToks are horrible, but I have some funny ones every now and then. So
they're very entertaining.
Yeah, that's like Michi's _World of Chaos or something like that. But
well, thank you again for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
We love having you here. This was a great discussion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Heck, now that I'm thinking about it, we even argued a little bit. That was pretty good.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I mean, you get me on here, we'll talk about politics sometime, and there's gonna be some arguing.
Anyway, but we'll definitely have you back on again.
Of course.
You're one of our favorite guests. We've even gotten comments about you and everything.
Good ones?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to be here with Melissa because
Yes.
I love you so much. I'm like fangirling. Oh my god.
I feel so special. Michelle is the literal best, y'all.
I'm just excited. I mean, like Melissa, you've got a great voice. Like you have a voice that people, it resonates with everybody. So I'm excited.
Awesome.
I'm
Thank
excited
you.
about to see everything grow. So.
Yeah, we're
always share
excited.
it.
But we definitely want to bring you back on the show. We got some stuff coming up in the next few months that we know you're going to be perfect to talk about with. So we'll talk about more in the future.
I'm curious now. I was like, what am I perfect for?
Well, I mean, we told you we want to talk about mental health again for sure.
Yeah.
That's something that I know you definitely have some
Yeah, because I'm
input
all
in.
kinds of crazy. Yeah.
No,
It's
not
important.
just. Not
I
just
live with all kinds of crazy. I attract it.
Not just because of that, but no, this was a great show. I can't wait to get the feedback for this one. I think we had a great discussion. Yeah, Melissa, you did awesome today.
Thank you.
I would really love to hear. I don't know if people can comment or send you emails or something.
Yes,
but I would
for sure.
really love, maybe put it out there for people to tell us their stories.
Yes,
Yes, absolutely.
Tell us your story. Tell us what you think. If you agree or if you disagree, or
Let
what do
us
you
know
think?
what you went through during the storm. If it was whatever it was, if something traumatic happened and you got to get it out there, you got to share whatever you want to vent about ERCOT, you want to vent about Ted Cruz, whatever the case may
I don't
be.
know if anybody will want to do that.
But it's just one of those things where like so many people were going. I feel like all three of us, four of us, were really blessed. No, I hate using the word like we're blessed, but I mean, we were lucky to have the luxuries that we did.
Yes.
And there were people that had it so much worse. And the hardest part for me wasn't being miserably cold. The hardest part for me was knowing that I couldn't help other people.
Yeah.
And you had said that too.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
like during the floods, we were all out there just doing whatever we could to help others. And it's like,
Right.
we wish that we could have helped them. And I know that people are still struggling right now. People are just always, they're quiet. After the storm, sometimes people are just like, I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't. I know people that are living in hotels right now, and it's just so. If anybody's got a story out there, or if you need help or
share it.
anything, reach
Share
out
it.
to us.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Awesome. Will, you got anything you want to close out with? Are you good?
It's like
good.
Michelle took up all the air. We're good.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you everyone for joining us on the What's on My Mind podcast. Listen, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. Remember that you can also find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, iHeartRadio, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. Make sure you check out our official Facebook page at facebook.com/WOM podcast. That's facebook.com/WOMM podcast. Also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And as Michelle was saying, give us your stories, or if you just want to comment on this episode, anything like that at all, you can email us at wompodcast@gmail.com. Any kind of questions you might have, all the comments, just please feel free to send it in. All your complaints as well. Will gets those. And he reads them all. So anyway, but until next time, this has been Rob T.
Be Will.
And Melissa.
And you've been listening to
What's on my mind?